It's 7, so I'm getting ready to get started.
Yeah, well, don't mess up what you got going on.
Um,
We want to make sure everything's right. Uh-huh.
oh, uh, Vanessa, if somebody wanted to come on and they hadn't been here before and they wanted to come on now, how would they do it?
I'll text you the link.
Okay. Can you text it? It's really Marcus. Can you text it to Marcus? Do you have his number?
Yeah.
Or you can text it to me. I'll text it to him.
No,
I have,
no. Beto
I
has,
have his
Beto has.
number.
Oh, she has it? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Bet.
I know you're getting ready to start.
Yeah.
Beto, good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. Doing
Good
wonderful. How are you?
morning.
Hey, good
Good.
morning, Sean. How are you?
Morning, Sean.
I'm good.
You back in the motherland on the island of Puerto Rico.
I'm
Excellent.
back
Well,
home.
7 o'clock, we moving it on. Now, Sean, since you're here, uh, you're pretty much here, so you kind of get to pick. Well, you three that are here right now get to pick on time. The early bird gets the worm. So I have two different ways I can go with it. I have a more, how can I say, a more familiar way I can go with it, where it's information um, from a from more of a more of a formal, more of like a traditional education type situation, or I can go the way I normally go, which is uh, talking to you more from a metaphysical mindset situation.
I want the second one because when you talked about the first one, your face was like making all them weird faces. You don't even believe it first.
The first one is good, man. And I actually was leaning toward that one. It's I actually taught it in the youth circle and to some individual people I'm working with. But I think what's good about that is, I mean, I'm like I said, I'll let you pick, but I think the first one is the one. I think the first one is the one that's really gonna hit in a different way. But I'll let you pick.
I trust you. You can go with the first one.
All right, here we go. We off and running. Oh, I don't. Wait. Uh, mm, okay. So here, let's see. All right. All right. So can you see it?
Yes.
All right. Perfect. All right, here we go, everyone. So this is something, like I said, I explained earlier in some of the one-on-ones I had in some of the small groups that we have. So I'm going to go back over it because I think it will really help people get a better understanding from a different perspective. So from a different perspective. So here we go. So this is from the National Library of Medicine. And that's kind of the point. The point is I'm giving it to you from sources that you're used to seeing things from. Doctors, lawyers, scientists, dentists, from not from scripture somewhere or some kind of other text, but actually from something that you can, that's recent and human, so to speak. All right, here we go. So this is from the National Library of Medicine. This is from Dr. Bruce Lipton, right? The jump from cell culture to consciousness. So the jump from cell culture to consciousness. This is from Dr. Bruce Lipton, right? This is from the National Library of Medicine. So this is what people call humanity. This is someone you could touch, hold, grab, things like that, right? So it's important because it's coming from this angle so that you can see the things we talk about every week and see how even science literally is, and science means knowledge, how science is literally vibing with what we say, is saying that what we're saying is the truth, but they're saying it scientifically. All right. So this is Bruce Lipton. He's a cell biologist and lecturer, right? He's internationally recognized as a bridging science, as leader in bridging science and spirit, right? So he was a faculty on the University of Wisconsin's School of Medicine. He was performed groundbreaking stem cell research at Stanford, right? This is a real doctor. This isn't some kind of somebody with incense in the basement, right? So it's important that I'm saying it because I want you to see that even someone who's not even related to necessarily what we talk about on a daily basis, which is, he actually talks about it as well, but how how science backs up, verifies, agrees with what we talk about on a weekly basis. All right. So it said, would you start explaining how you got from culturing what you determined to be stem cells in a petri dish to ruminating, meaning thinking about belief and consciousness and evolution? So he said, okay, so this is basically, how did you get from stem cells to consciousness, the jump from cells to consciousness? So he's saying, well, he said, when I was doing my research on cloning stem cells, at the same time, I was also teaching medical school. Genetic determinism was at the time a prevailing belief that genes are capable of turning themselves on and off and regulating not just your physical structure, but your emotions and your behaviors as well. Genes seem to be the controlling factor of all characteristics of our lives. We attributed to them at that time the character of self-actualization, meaning that genes can turn themselves on and off. So in summary, what I was actually teaching future doctors, which they would then relate to their patients, is that genes are controlling their lives. As far as we know, we do not pick the genes that we came with. If we do not like the characteristics we have, we cannot change the genes. This leaves us with an unfortunate conclusion. We are the victims of our heredity, meaning if there's cancer running in your family, well, anticipate that their gene for cancer is going to affect you, and you're going to have cancer or cardiovascular disease or diabetes or Alzheimer's or whatever so-called hereditary issues there are. So we are powerless in controlling our biology because the genes control it, turn on and off, and we have no control over them. So what would you do if you're powerless? The answer, you have to find a rescuer. Therefore, you give up power over your life because you believe you have no power and hand it to someone who is recognized as a rescuer. A medical doctor, a pharmaceutical agency, or whatever it is will take care of you. This is what we are teaching, right? So this is genetic determinism. So this is basically saying how people believe, oh, I'm just big boned. I'm like, not big boned, big boned, right? People say, oh, I'm just big boned, or everybody dies at 50 in my family, or everybody has diabetes, or I can't help it that I'm this or I'm that because everybody in my family is like that. That's genetic determinism. That is the belief that your genes determine your outcomes no matter what you do and you have no say over it, right? So what happens when we believe that? It leads us to feeling powerless. You have to find a rescuer. Therefore, you give up power of your own life. You don't feel like you have any power or say over your life because you believe you have no power. And you hand it to someone who is recognized as a rescuer, a medical doctor, a pharmaceutical agency, or whatever it is, right? You're giving your power away. And then we wonder why we feel powerless. So he's saying, at the time I was teaching that, I was also doing work on cloning stem cells, right? So basically, it's just stem cells are basically the cells that you have when you're a child. And they call them stem cells when you're, at a certain age, and they call them embryonic cells at another age. But he's doing research on cells. So he said, basically that your cells are regenerating all the time, and they recognize that your cells are regenerating all the time. You never have the same ones for too long. They're always regenerating, right? All right. So he's saying that, you identify a single stem cell, you put it in a tissue culture dish by itself, the cells divide, and every 10 to 12 hours, you start with one, 10 hours later, there's two, 10 hours later, there's four, 10 hours, every 10 hours, it was doubling. So basically, he said genetically, we have about 50,000 identical cells in our body, in the culture dish. All right. So he grows this, so he decided to grow these cells in something he called a culture medium. So a culture medium is the environment in which the cells live. In other words, cells are like fish. They live in a fluid environment. So what is a culture medium? It's the laboratory version of blood. So if I take cells out of the body and I want to put them in a very similar environment, I create a synthetic version of blood for the culture dish. Because I'm creating a synthetic version, I can change the composition of the medium. So I can change what the environment is, right? Same cell, but different environment. So now we're getting into it. So he said the experiment that he did blew his mind. He said, I created 3 slightly different versions of culture mediums. So 3 slightly different versions of environment by changing some of the makeups of the environment. I put these 3 different environments in 3 different petri dishes, but all the dishes had portions from the same culture of genetically identical cells. So it's almost like if you put triplets, if you had 3 kids and they're all identical, and you put each one of those triplets in 3 different environments, would they all end up the same because they're identical, or would they be different based on the environment that they're in? That's what he's basically saying. So he said, so he said, as a result of the, so he said, I put the 3 different environments in 3 different petri dishes, but all the cells are the same. So he said, as a result, one of the cells became muscle. The cells in environment A became muscle. In the second petri dish, with genetically identical cells to the first, but in a slightly different environment, the cells became bone. So the first one became muscle, the second one became bone. Then the third dish, again with genetically identical cells, but a different environment, the cells became fat. So 3 different kids that are all identical, placed in 3 different environments, one became a muscle, the other one became bone, and the last one became fat cells. He said, so now you're left with a very profound question. What controls the fate of the cells? If all the cells are identical, they should all be doing the same things. If all the cells in the dish are identical and all you did was take them out and put them in 3 different environments, then why are they ending up differently? Right? He said, so all 3 groups of cells are genetically identical. I cannot say there are different genes in dish 1 than there were in dish 2. That's not true. They're genetically the same. The only difference was the composition or the chemistry of the culture medium, the environment in which the cells live. So the conclusion was profoundly important. It is the environment that selects the genetic activity of the cell. This is profoundly different than the genes making the decisions as to what genes are going to be, right? Genetic determinism. When people think like, oh, it's just hereditary, right? It's just heredity. I'm going to end up like this because my mom did or my dad did, or that's a family genetic trait, or it's whatever else it is. It's what do they say? A genetic curse or whatever else it is. Thinking that because someone who looks like us or comes from our bloodline, that we're all inextricably linked and we have no say in our outcomes, right? So as this is going on, right, it's saying that the conclusion was profoundly important. The environment selects the gene activity of the cell. This is profoundly different than the genes making decisions as to what the cell is going to be. So this is a pretty interesting story about cells in a plastic dish. But what does this have to do with me as a human? Now, right? So it basically says, our genes are made up of, our bodies are made up of about 50 trillion cells, right? So it's saying, basically saying that our body is always changing. Our cells are changing based on the environment, not based on heredity just being locked in stone and nothing be able to change, right? All right. So, so it's saying that here's the point. It doesn't make a difference to the fate of the cell if it's in a plastic dish or in a skin covered dish, our body, because the fate of the cell is controlled by the conditions of the environment. The blood composition, the environment in which the cells live, is really the factor that controls the genetic response of the cell. So then what controls the composition of the culture medium? The blood. So the brain is the chemist. So your brain is making is the chemist that's making your blood, your blood and the environment of your blood. And the cells live in that environment. So whatever the brain is thinking, it creates an environment that the cells live in. And as the cells live in that environment, the cells produce physical traits that are necessary to live in that environment. Right? So it says, this leads us to the next and more important question. I know the brain is the chemist, but what chemistry should the brain put into the blood? The chemistry put into the blood by the brain is a direct complement to the picture we hold in our mind. The chemistry put into the blood by the brain is a direct complement to the picture we hold in our mind. So the brain looks at the outside world and interprets and says, okay, whatever I interpret, let me mix this up in my brain. Let me mix this up as blood in the body. So the blood, now the environment that the cells live in, now creates a particular environment that the cells have to adapt to and express itself from. So it's almost like moving from a different neighborhood. So you're the same person, but you move to a different neighborhood. Well, now that neighborhood affects you differently, right? When you live in one place or another. Some places have Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, other places don't. So based on the environment you're in, you express yourself differently. That is basically how the gene is expressing itself. So it's saying, in other words, the mind's image is translated by the brain into chemistry, which then goes to the body to create a physical complement to the image in mind. So the mind's image, what you are looking out in the world and seeing, right, is translated by the brain then into chemistry, right, which then goes to the body, right, which creates the blood, where the blood is created to create a physical complement to the image in mind. So now it gives information to genes or the cells to now create different expressions of itself. So when you saw the first genes put in, same identical genes put in 3 different environments, one turned into fat cells, one turned into bone, and one turned into something else. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. Something else, 3 different environments, but one identical cell just chopped up. One identical cell put in 3 different environments. The identical cell produced 3 different things because of the environment, not because of the heredity, not because of the cell itself, right? So then here's where we're getting to. In ancient terms, back from the days of Buddha, 500 years ago, what we believe, we become. Basically, our perception changes the chemistry of our blood. And so when you change the chemistry of your blood, when you change the environment in your body, then the cells change to reflect that environment. So it will produce something different because it's producing not on its genetic makeup, it's producing on the environment that it is in. So it's always changing based on the environment that it's in. And that environment that it's in is the blood. But what creates the blood is the brain. And the brain is looking out, right, and perceiving things. It's saying, oh, there's famine. Oh, there's war. Oh, there's whatever it is perceiving. It now, as the chemist, says, okay, I need to create this environment so our genes can express these things now. So that I can now be this, or I can be that, whatever it is. All right. So here's an example. If you're sitting with your eyes closed and you open your eyes and you see someone you love, your mind holds a picture of love, right? If you see something, your mind holds a picture of it. So a picture of love in the mind is translated by the brain into very specific chemistry, right? The picture, the things you observe, right, is translated by the brain into a very specific chemistry. In a state of love, the brain releases dopamine for pleasure into the blood. So now there's dopamine in the environment, where before that love that you were looking at, there was no dopamine in that blood. So therefore the cells couldn't express anything that required dopamine. But when it saw love and then the brain, right, released dopamine for pleasure into the blood, now the genes are basically, are basically in an environment with love in it, with dopamine in it, with pleasure in it. So it's going to produce pleasure things, right? That's how your health improves. That's how your body basically improves, is because of the chemistry that's in the blood. And the chemistry that's in the blood is released by the brain looking at the outside world, right? So the brain releases oxytocin into the blood, which is a chemical that helps us to bind the source of love that we are experiencing. The experiencing of love also releases another chemical into the medium, into the environment, called vasopressin. It helps us become more attractive so that our partner sticks with us even more. Another very important factor released by our brain while perceiving. So our brain releases hormones into the bloodstream, which changes the environment based on what it's seeing. So if it's seeing love, it's producing all of these love type hormones, right? Things that reflect love, right? So while our brain's perceiving love, it is perceiving love is growth hormone is released, which by its name does exactly what it says. It influences our growth. So the result is that the chemistry of the body's natural climate medium, the chemistry of the body's blood, is adjusted by the perception of the mind. So the environment in your body is adjusted by the perception of the mind. And your cells are constantly reacting and readjusting to express different aspects. Basically, the cells are just potential. They're not actually anything. They're potential that you use to express yourself based on what your brain is perceiving in the world. And based on changing perception, you change the blood, and the blood changes the expression of the gene. So the gene just isn't something that you have to just live with. It's not just hereditary and it's locked in, set in stone. It's not static. It's showing you that it's organic, that it's living, that your genes are constantly living, and they're constantly adapting and adjusting to the environment of the blood. And the blood is constantly changing or remaining the same based on either the change or the remainder of the brain, of the environment that the brain is perceiving, either changing or remaining the same. Right? The perception of love, such as introduces elements. Well, okay, what is that saying and what we say every week? The perception of love. Perception is the male. Perception is the thought, is when you look out at something and you have a thought of it. Well, what is the thought? Love. So the perception of love is the thought. The elements as a result of that, the elements as a result of the perception are introduced: dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin, growth hormones. Those are the female. The thought is the male. The releasing of hormones as a result of the thought, of the perception, are the female. So when you get the male and the female, you get a child, you get an expression. That is what you see in a body, is the expression. It's the combination of thought and the hormones that are being released according to it. Your perception of the world, your perception of yourself releases hormones. The perception of yourself, your thoughts, your thinking, your thinking nature, what you're perceiving and feeling, believing to be true, releases a hormone, releases a feeling about that feeling, that thought, or that belief. That is the female. The thought and the subsequent release of hormones, whichever types there are that is the male and the female that produces a child, an expression. Right? The perception of love, the thought of love, produces elements such as dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin, and growth hormone, all of which are chemicals that enhance the vitality and health of the 50 trillion cells in our skin-covered culture dish. In a state of love, the chemicals released in love, so in a thought of love, right, chemicals are released. In a thought, the male, the chemicals released based on that thought are the female. That produces the physical expression, that produces a child, an expression, right? So in a state of love, the chemicals released in love result in health and harmony and a glowing body. People say, oh, look, you can see how in love they are. You see how they glow. So in a state of love, in a thought of love. So the thought of something releases, chemicals are released in your body that physically result in that thought. If it's love, it results in health and harmony and a glowing body. People say, oh, look, you can see how in love they are. See how they glow? That is a chemical, when you see people glowing, that is a chemical expression. That's the chemical expression of your internal environment. And your internal environment, the chemical expression of your internal environment is created by the thought, the perception you're entertaining, the thought you're entertaining, and the hormones that are released as a result of the thoughts you're entertaining. Right? That is a chemical expression of the culture medium, the blood, affecting the vitality of the cells. Right? Then I say, wait, the same person can open their eyes and instead of seeing love, see something that scares them. Well, in a state of fear, the brain does not release the chemicals associated with love. It releases chemicals associated with fear, which are stress hormones and inflammatory agents, changing the chemistry of the culture medium, changing the blood. Your thoughts, what you are perceiving, what you're looking out the world, what you're thinking and feeling to be true, those are your thoughts. That is the male. And as a result of that thinking, all of the chemicals and hormones that you release into your bloodstream, right, changes your blood. It changes the environment. And when the environment changes, your genes change. Your physical expression changes. And that's all based on your perception or your thinking, what you are thinking, whether you're looking out, whether you're thinking about something, all of those things come from the inside and they express what you see on the outside. So every week we're talking about, according to your faith be it unto you. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As a mind thinketh. All of these things are not males and females physically in these scriptures that we're reading, in any of the metaphysical texts. They're talking about consciousness. This right here is talking about consciousness. The title of this, right, from the National Library of Medicine, from a doctor, the PhD doctor, the jump from cell culture to consciousness, from genetic determinism to I amness, to your awareness of being. Genetic determinism, what is that? It's the belief that your thought, genetic determinism, at the time, a prevailing belief that genes are capable of turning themselves on and off and regulating not just your physical structure, but your emotions and behavior as well. Genes seem to be the controlling factor of all characteristics of our lives. That was the original thought. That was the belief back in the day, right? So if you believe that, then if we don't pick the genes that we come with and we don't like the characteristics that we have, we cannot change them. This leaves us with an unfortunate conclusion. We are the victims of heredity. When you just think that things are what they are and you have no say, you're a victim now. And now you're eligible to be victimized. You can't be victimized if you're not a victim. It's not possible. It's like giving birth to a child and you're not pregnant. It's just not possible. If it's not in there, it can't come out. If it's not in there, it can't be expressed. So genetic determinism is the belief that things just are what they are and that's it, as it relates to genes. But it's the same way we think in humanity, that it is just social determinism, genetic determinism. It is just financial determinism. It is just environmental determinism. It is the belief that we have no say in our world. It's determined by something that we don't control or have access to control. So then that automatically makes us victims. So when we're victims, what happens? What would you do if you're powerless? Well, the answer is you have to find a rescuer. Therefore, you give up power over your life because you believe you have no power. That's how you give up your power, is the belief that you don't have any. The belief that someone else knows better all the time, that somebody else is always smarter than you, that somebody else knows better for you than you do. And when you do that, you hand it over to whomever the rescuer is. Whoever you're recognizing that rescuer to be, you're handing it over. It could be a medical doctor, a pharmaceutical agency, it could be a pastor, it could be a politician, it could be a teacher, it could be a judge, it could be anything that you believe has more power than you, therefore you give your power to them as well. So they have their power and your power. And what do you do that for? Right? So that you'll be taken care of. You believe you'll be taken care of, that somebody else will do it for you, and somebody else knows how to do it better for you. So we talk about all these things in different terms, but I'm showing you scientifically how they're saying the same thing. That there is a jump, there's a realization from cell culture to consciousness, that it's not genetic determinism, it's your awareness of being. It's your I amness, your consciousness, what you are assuming to be true. So we're going through this, right? So it's saying that he did an experiment, right? Saying that they put 3 genetically identical cells in 3 different petri dishes in 3 different environments. Same cell. And if you put them in 3 different environments, one became a muscle, the second one became a bone, and the third one became fat cells. How could that be if they're all genetically identical? How could it be? Right? How could it be? Right? And that's what people are talking about. How can the same thing become something different simply by changing the environment? How can you become different simply by changing what you think? And how what you think, literally your brain is the chemist that is actually producing the environment of your blood. Inside the body is the original culture medium called blood. It's your blood, right? That your genes are floating in like fish in water. And those genes are constantly changing according to the environment of the blood. And the blood, what does it say? So what controls the composition of the culture medium? The blood. The blood composition is really the factor that controls the genetic response of the cell. The fate of the cell is controlled by the conditions of the environment. It doesn't make a difference to the fate of the cell if it's in a plastic dish or your skin covered dish called your body. The fate of it is controlled by the conditions of the environment. The conditions, right? The factor that controls the genetic response of the cell is the blood. So the brain is the chemist, right? I know the brain is the chemist, but what chemistry should the brain put into the blood? The chemistry put into the blood by the brain is a direct complement to the picture we hold in mind. In other words, the mind's image is translated by the brain into chemistry, which then goes to the body. So the mind's image goes to the body to create a physical complement to the image in mind. So the body you're looking at in the mirror is a physical complement to what? The mind's image, to your thought. What you're looking at in the mirror is your thought in form. It is your word made flesh. We talk about this every week, but this is now a scientist talking about it. This isn't me with or with a wig on with some incense in the basement, making it up with candles and lighting and beads. And no, we're coming straight forward so that everybody understands that when we're talking about what we talk about or the way we talk about it every week, that science talks about it the same way. And what does science mean? Knowledge, to know. Gnosis, that's what science means, to know. Conscious with knowledge. Gone, science with knowledge. Conscious. Right? So what does it say? In ancient terms, back from the days of Buddha, 2,500 years, we believe what we believe we become. Basically, our perception changes the chemistry of our blood. What you are thinking changes the environment in which your genes reside, and your genes now turn to produce another reflection, another physical expression of what it is, based on the environment of the blood, which is based on the perception of the mind. The brain is the chemist. What we believe, we become. This is a scientist at Stanford, University of Wisconsin. This is not some weird person just talking about. This is a regular, real doctor. A picture of love in the mind is translated by the brain into very specific chemistry. It releases oxytocin, vasopressin, human growth hormone, just literally by a thought. And how that thought, right, basically changes the chemistry of your blood. Literally. It's not positive thinking, because it does the same thing if you were to think the other way, right? When it says, oh, if I have hate, what happens then? Or if I have fear, the brain releases other chemicals associated with fear, stress hormones, anti-inflammatory agents, changing the chemistry of the blood, of the culture medium. Then go back and recognize that the fate of the cell is directly dependent on the chemistry of the culture medium, of the blood. The fate of your genes, the fate of your cell, and the way they express themselves is based on the environment of the blood. The environment of the blood is based on the chemicals that are released into it. The chemicals that are released into it are based on the perception of the mind, its environment, what it is perceiving itself to be, the experience that it's having. And it releases chemicals. So what it's thinking is the male. The chemicals that it releases because of what it's thinking is the female. And those two together cause your physical body. Your physical world. Your body is physical, just like a dollar, just like a house, just like anything else. Your body, what you're looking at in the mirror physically, is literally a combination of your mind and the chemicals that are released as an expression of that thought. Your body can change into 1,000 million different things because your thought can change into 1,000 million different things. And so the chemicals that are released from a change of thought, from love, they're released, oxytocin, right? Vasopressin, human growth hormone. Fear is what? Stress hormones, inflammatory agents, and other things like that. They're both, all of those are released first by thought. Your brain is the chemist. So when we're on here talking, I say it's not positive thinking. No, this is the law of consciousness. That's why he said the title of it is what? The jump from cell culture to consciousness. The change, the jump from genetic determinism, I just am what I am, I can't help it, I don't know what happened, this is just the way it is. Mama was like that, me, ma, peepaw, my great-great-granddaddy, great-great-grandmommy, everybody was like that. We've always been this. It's always been that way. That's genetic determinism, thinking you have no say in your world. That's not the truth. He's saying, this doctor is saying that there's a jump, the change that's being recognized, that it's not genetic determinism. You're not just at the fate of some thing, right? It's your consciousness that's determining your fate. It is your awareness of being, whatever that may be, right? That is what is dumping into your blood, changing the expression of your cells. And that is what, when you see people glowing, like it said, that is a result of the chemistry going on within you, right? Okay, so the genetic of the cell gives us all kinds of potentials. The potentials expressed are related to the composition of the culture medium. The potentials of your genes that are expressed are related to your blood, the culture of the environment that your genes live in, which is your blood. The culture medium composition, the blood composition in a laboratory is synthesized by me, synthetic blood. In your natural skin covered petri dish or your body, the brain is the chemist. The brain is the chemist, and it translates your perception, your thoughts. It's translating your thoughts, your perception, what you are looking at and believing to be true and thinking and feeling to be true, into chemistry that complements the perception. It takes a thought and the feeling of it, it translates into chemistry to that complements the perception. So your physical body is a complement to your mind. It's not different. It doesn't look different, feel different, act different. Your body, your money, any physical thing is the same thing. That's why in the books, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. According to your faith be it unto you. You shall declare and decree a thing, and it will come to pass. Your death and life are in the power of your tongue. All these things are saying the same thing, that your fate is not genetically determined. Your fate is not societally determined. Your fate is not sexually determined, meaning male or female. Your fate is not economically determined. It is not determined by any external thing. It is expressed externally. Your fate is determined from the inside because it's created. It's the alpha and the omega. It starts from the inside and it expresses itself outwardly. So by the time you see it, it's already been cooked up. It's like we all went to Thanksgiving somewhere. We walked into a place and the food was already ready. By the time you see it, it's already done. By the time you smell it, it's already done. But the person who created it, they got to see all the stages of it. Well, when we in humanity see things from in our lives, our money, our health, our body, our relationships, it's already cooked up. We're just seeing the end. We're just smelling it, seeing it, tasting it. But it was created before that. It's created internally. Right? So it's saying in the placebo effect, a person is ill in some degree, then is given an opportunity to take a very specific medicine. The physician says, this is the latest, greatest drug to treat you. Look, it's colored purple, it's very good. Even the color is going to heal you. You believe. That's your perception. Your perception is belief in this case. If your perception is disbelief, I don't believe, you won't get it. Your body releases different things that produces different effects based on your perception. What you are telling yourself is true. So you believe, so your perception now is belief. So then now your brain releases chemicals that are associated with belief, whatever your belief is. My God, I found a drug that is going to heal me. You take the drug and you get better. Later, you found out the drug was just a sugar pill. What healed you? Well, obviously not the sugar pill. It was your perception. It was your perception and beliefs about. Your perception and your beliefs about anything are either healing you or killing you. they're either making you alive or dead. They're either making you rich or poor. They've made you a man versus a woman. They have made you everything that you are. There is no right or wrong to them, good or bad to them. They just do what they do. Your hormones just do what they do. They're not doing it because it's good or bad, right or wrong. They're doing it because that's their assignment. They are assigned to do what your perception is, what the thought and the beliefs are, the male and the female. It produces a thing. How can the mind release chemistry and a belief that actually turns around and heals us? What most people do not recognize is the consequence of a negative belief, in reference to the fact that a placebo is a consequence of a positive belief. A negative belief, but it is still a belief. That's why I tell you there is no such thing as positive or negative thinking. The outcome we call positive or negative, but it's just belief. That's why it's as equally as powerful in shaping our biology and our genetics, right? A positive belief, a negative belief are both equally as powerful in shaping our biology and our genetics. Positive and negative work the same way. They're just two different directions, but they work the same way. They accomplish the same end. When you go right and you're going somewhere, when you turn right and where you're going is right, you made it. If you turn left and where you're going is left, you made it. There is no positive left or negative right. There is no, the outcomes of both are perfect if you went the way you were supposed to or the way you wanted to. A negative belief, a positive belief, and a negative belief are equally powerful in shaping our biology and genetics. One just works in opposite direction. Negative belief works in the opposite direction of a positive belief. A negative belief can result in any illness and even cause us to die. So when people say it's all just in your mind, yeah, it is. But it's not all in your mind that it's not real. It's all in your mind that your mind is real. That's where reality was created and is constantly being created. By the selecting of your thought, of your perceptions, of your perspective. So you get in traffic and you're like, oh, hell, oh man, I'm gonna be late. Or you get in traffic and be like, you know what? I'm gonna get there 10 minutes early. I always get wherever I'm going. Everywhere I go, I get there effortlessly and easily. I always get to work on time or early. I'm gonna get there today 10 minutes early. You have a belief about either one. And whichever one you get, according to your choice, be it unto you. You could choose, you see traffic, you have a perception of something, you see something, and you have a choice about how you perceive that, what that means to you, what you tell yourself. And that creates your chemistry. That creates your physical world. We're just talking about how it does it in your body, but your body is a physical thing. Money is a physical thing, meaning you only realize it when you see it. It's a physical thing. Your body is a physical thing. Your success, those are things that you identify physically or with physically. You're like, I want to express this. All physical expression, all expression is a result of this, of your biology and your genetics, which are based on your mind, what you're telling yourself. Any negative belief can result in any illness and even cause us to die. Just like our positive beliefs, meaning thinking properly about ourselves, causes all the growth hormone, vasopressin, causes all those different things that keep you young, beautiful, handsome, and everything else. A negative belief relates to something called the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is the consequence that can include any illness, disease, or death. That result is simple. The chemistry that determines our biology, genetics, behavior, and life characteristics is chemistry derived from the brain. The chemistry that determines our biology, genetics, the chemistry that determines, not genetic determinism, it just is what it is. The chemistry that determines our biology, genetics, behavior, life characteristics is chemistry derived from the brain. From the brain. It's not positive thinking. It's understanding what thinking is. The chemistry that determines your biology, your genetics, your behavior, and your life characteristics is chemistry derived from the brain. It's coming from the brain. It's not coming from outside, it's coming from inside. What you call fate is not coming from the outside, it's coming from the inside. It's determined by you, by your consciousness, not your cells, your consciousness. Because your consciousness is the one that is derived from the brain that's telling your cells, which in turn is derived from the brain interpreting an image, your perception, your perspective in our mind. As we change our mind, we change our biology. As you change your mind, you change your biology. Change your mind, change your life. Choose your mind, choose your life. Been saying it for years. It's not positive thinking. It's understanding how thinking works. There's no positive driving, it's just understanding how driving works. But if you don't understand how driving works, it's going to be called negative driving, theoretically. You're going to be hitting everything, everyone, and everything, and everyone's going to be hitting you. It's going to be a painful experience when it doesn't have to be. It's not driving that hurts you. It's either your ignorance that does. It's not your driving that helps you, it's your knowledge that does. The chemistry that determines your biology, genetics, behavior, and life characteristics is the chemistry derived from the brain. It's not who you know out in the world. It's not your cousin. It's not you got 3 hookups. It's not that you're in a sorority or fraternity. It's not the external world that is making you what you are. You think it is, but it's not. It's not. Everything you see in the physical world is an effect. It is after the fact. And the fact is your brain. The fact is your consciousness that uses your brain to express itself, to express its awareness of being. Your consciousness uses your brain. Your brain then uses its its hormones based on what it's believing. And those hormones are released into your body. And your body then takes the shape of that thought, of that perception, of what's going on in consciousness. You change your mind, you change your biology. This is a doctor, a scientist. So this isn't the Bible. This isn't any type of metaphysical text. So this isn't just like, oh, well, you don't understand. Oh, well, yeah, but we got to be real. Oh, but this is reality. I'm giving you reality, but it's saying the same thing we've been saying for years. Just using different words, but it's saying the same thing. Your mind, you change your mind, you change your biology. Didn't say change your medication. Didn't say change your doctor. Didn't say change your hospital. No, because everywhere you go, there you are. You're right there. So whether it's the placebo, I believe, or the nocebo, I do not believe. They're both beliefs. A negative belief is still a belief. It's just a belief that's going to go against your desire, but it's still a belief. You need a belief to do anything. You need a gas pedal to go the right way or the wrong way. It's not spiritual or deep. So I'm presenting it to you this way because I want you to understand this is science. And it's saying the same thing we say every week. Science means knowledge. And when you come here, you'll understand very quickly we know what we're talking about. Science means to know. They're saying the same thing we say every week. Change your mind, change your life. As we change our mind, we change our biology. Right? So this is the foundation of something called spontaneous remission. Say a person is going to die of terminal cancer. All of a sudden, there's a spontaneous remission. What does this spontaneous remission do? In every case, the remission is due to the fact that the patient had a profound change of belief. A profound change of belief or a change of mind in regard to the factors that affected their lives. If you do not have a profound change of belief about the factors that are affecting your lives or your life, you're going to die. Meaning you are not going to be able to express whatever you desire. You're going to be dead in that area. You're going to die or remain dead until you change your mind. What does it say? It is due to the patient having a profound change of belief, a change of mind. Not of medication, not of doctor, not of hospital, not of state, city, not of friends, not of mind. A profound change of belief and a change of mind. A profound change of belief or a change of mind in metaphysics and scriptures is called what?
In physics?
In metaphysics, in scripture, in whether it's the Bible, the Torah, the Talmud, the Bhagavad Gita, any of them.
A miracle?
Say it again.
A miracle?
Nope.
To repent?
Renewing of the mind.
Repent. Repent, Greek word, metanoia, a radical change of mind. Repent. Correct, Sparkle Baby. Repent. That's what the scriptures mean when they say repent. A profound change of belief, a change of mind. That without that change of mind or that radical change of mind or belief, you die. In whatever area you're holding that in, you die. You remain as you are. And when you die and you remain as you are, you feel like a victim. You're stuck against your will, against your desire. But if you don't change your mind, you can't change your life. You can't change your biology. In every case, I didn't write it, the doctor wrote it. I didn't write that. In every case, the remission is due to the fact that the patient had a profound change of belief, a change of mind in regard to the factors that affect their lives. What do you believe? What do you believe in your mind about the factors that affect your life? Do you believe you have to be white or black, a man or woman, a Republican or a Democrat? Do you believe you have to work 90,000 hours to get money? Do you believe that it's flu season and it just is what it is? Do you believe that God will never put more on you than you can handle? What do you believe? But whatever you believe, that is either your life or your death. It's either your placebo or your nocebo. What factors do you give precedence over your life with? That is your Lord. That is the law. That is what you're being governed by. Your beliefs. The thoughts that you are ruminating on, that you are entertaining, that you have literally brought into your mind, and they're sitting there in your house chilling with their feet up. A letting go of the stresses and of the mind issues that were creating a nocebo effect. Letting go of those stresses can actually cause cancer to undergo spontaneous remission. The power is not in the genetics. The power is in consciousness. It's not in the genetics. It is not in the genetics. The power is in consciousness. Isn't that what we talk about every week? Or every one-on-one call I have with whomever, or some of the group calls I have? We talk about this, but I'm giving it to you scientifically. So you can't say anymore, you can't run from it anymore, can't hide. You can't say, oh, well, this is just, so this is real good, but you got to be real. Oh, yeah, but the Bible's old and, that was late, it's not real now. There's no 6, 7 in there. There's, all these different things. Oh, it's not up to date. Oh, it's not. Okay, well, I'm giving you something up to date. There's no scripture. There's no Jesus in here. There's no Joseph. There's no Abdullah. There's no Muhammad. There's none of those people in here. And it's telling you it's not the genetics. This is a doctor telling you. And it's not the genetics. It's in your mind. It's your awareness of being, what you're telling yourself, what you are perceiving, and then releasing chemicals as a result of that go into your bloodstream that change that change the integrity or the quality or the composition of your bloodstream that your genes live in, and then express themselves as a result of the change, or remain the same as a result of no change. So if you take some fish and you put them in a bowl and you pour water in there, how are the fish going to do? How are they going to do?
They're gonna die.
If you have a bowl and you put water in a bowl and you put fish in there, how are they going to do?
They're gonna die.
Why? If they're in water.
If they're too big for the bowl, the water's not gonna matter.
Why would you bring a bowl out why would you? So if you put fish,
they will live.
they'll live. Okay, now you bring another bowl out and you put oil in the bowl and you dump the fish. They're gonna die. But the fish are still the same. It's the same genetic fish. They're still the same. So then what determines the life or death of the fish?
The environment, because you put oil in it.
Correct. So what do you think is happening in your body? Meaning whether it's your body, when I say body, I don't mean just the physical body, I'm including it, but your life. What do you think What do you think is happening when you're living in oil?
You die. Because you can't breathe oil.
Well, how do you think you can breathe stress?
You can't breathe stress.
But people say, I'm managing it. Haven't you heard
No,
people say,
you
manage your
gotta get rid of
stress? Haven't you heard people say it?
Yeah, but they gotta get rid of it. They're not managing it. They lying to themselves.
What about people managing diabetes?
Same thing.
They got their diabetes under control. How do you have diabetes under control?
You don't.
So, but people say it, right?
But that's a lie they tell themselves.
There's a lot of people lying, aren't they?
True.
We lie, and we may not be lying about that, but we lie to ourselves about all kinds of things. Oh, we just used to the lies we tell ourselves. But there's all kinds of areas of life we may be living in oil. Wondering why it's hard to breathe, why it's hard to think, why we don't have any money, why we don't have the relationship we want. We're in oil. It's the same thing. You're in an environment where you're not thriving. That's oil. You're broke, that's oil. You're sick, that's oil. You hate your husband or your husband hates you, that's oil. Your kids won't talk to you, that's oil. We're just used to living in it. Our consciousness, what does it say? Our consciousness is translated into biology via chemistry of the natural cultural medium called blood. Your consciousness is translated into your biology. Your thinking is translated into your physical world via the chemistry of your blood. But it's just telling you basically that the alpha is your thought, the omega is your thought and your feeling about the thought, and the omega is the outcome. All those are you. All those are within you. Right? How does that relate to your beliefs on the effects of environment on the evolution of genetics? Let's pretend that the old belief of genetic determinism is valid. Genetic determinism, just believing that you are genes, you're big boned because Meemaw or Peepaw was, and everybody's just like that, and that's just the way it is. I've been broke, and you to believe in this determinism that your life just is what it is and you have no say. Well, that would mean that the genes you were born with are going to control the characteristics of your life. Well, the problem is that the environment is ever changing. There is no static environment. Well, why is that relevant? What does that mean? Well, if your genes are designed to keep you alive in an environment A, and then the environment changes to environment B, then those genes may not support your vitality at all. They may actually lead to your death. Therefore, then, your life is totally under the control of those mechanical devices which are not connected to the environment. That would be silly. What do you say? That would be silly. Life would have died out a long time ago if your genes were just static and you had no way to change or modify them to reflect the change or modification in your environment. You would die. That's Darwin's whole theory. It's on adaptability. The animals that adapted the best to change survived. His whole theory is based on adaptability. Right? Life would have died out a long time ago when environment changes, like we're experiencing right now regarding climate change. Why is this new insight important? Because the new insight says, no, you are not controlled by your genetics. Your genes are controlled by your environment, your thinking, and more specifically, your perception of the environment. Not just by your environment, your perception, not just by where you are, but what you're thinking about where you are. Not just by what you are, but what you think about what you are. That is what's controlling your genes, your expression. That's what's controlling your body, your physical world. This dynamic allows control of your biology. If genes controlled your life, your fate would be determined regardless of what was happening, regardless of what you do. So then why do anything? If fate is just fate, why pray? If you're just destined to be sick, then why not just accept it? You're fighting against nature. You're jumping off the roof trying to go up. Why not just accept it? Why not just lay there and just enjoy the time you have? Why do you think naturally we don't do that? Because the truth is that's not the truth. The truth is that's not the truth. That there is no such thing as just fate. Be it genetic, be it social, environmental, economical, there's no such thing. We are the creators of that fate, meaning the end. If genes controlled your life, your fate would be determined regardless of what was happening in the environment. These are your genes. This is your life. You have cancer, this gene. You are going to die. You're going to get cancer and die. The fact is, there is no such thing as a cancer gene. Anybody ever tell you that? Don't they just talk about cancer like it's just out there floating around waiting on you? That you need to get screened for it, which is all fine, but you need to get screened for it like it's just, you're getting older. Well, you eat a lot of meat. Well, your mom and her mom and her mom, or your dad and his uncle and his brother, they all died around 56. The doctor said there's no such thing as a cancer gene. So then how do you get one? If there's no such thing as a cancer gene, how do you get one? Anyone?
By
You
your
believe
thought,
you have it.
You what?
You
by your
believe you
thought.
have it. So by your thoughts, yep.
So then what did you do?
Created it.
You created it. You believe you have Thanksgiving dinner. What does that do? Makes you cook, right? Or it makes you eat. You created it. You create the experience you believe. You don't have a cancer gene. You create cancer. I didn't say it. That's what this person said. The doctor said it. From Stanford. So this is not like some kind of junior college. This is not like some kind of high school person with a chemistry set. Not saying that, but just saying it. So it's not like some kind of place we haven't heard. This is from Stanford. There's no such thing as a cancer gene. That's what the doctor said. I agree. We say that every week about consciousness creating everything, but I'm gonna let somebody else tell you, because then there's nowhere to hide. There's no, well, you don't understand. Well, it's just, well, he don't understand. You couldn't go to this person and make them understand that everybody in your family has it, so you're gonna get it too. He just told you there's no such thing. What does it say? That belief is self-sabotaging. If you believe you have a cancer gene and you believe that that gene can turn on and give you cancer, then your belief, not the gene itself, your belief is manifesting, is now creating a chemistry that will create cancer. Because you are translating your perception into chemistry, your thought into chemistry. Your thought is produced in the chemistry. So when you believe that there's a cancer gene floating around, that you could get it, that so-and-so had it, so you're probably going to get it, so you need to get screened to make sure you don't have it and all this, then you can get screened all the time. I play basketball. I did. And they set screens all the time. You learn how to get through that. You learn how to get through a screen. You're creating it. How can all you're doing is screening yourself. You're literally screening yourself. Because you're the one creating. You will create a chemistry that will create cancer because you are translating your perception, the thought you're holding, into a chemistry. You now have the male perception, the chemistry, the female, and now a perception of cancer causes cancer. Your thought and the chemical that goes with that thought causes what you're thinking. What does it say? A perception of cancer can cause cancer. Less than 10% of cancer has any hereditary linkage at all. The other 90% or more of cancer is a direct response to the environment and the perception of the individual in that environment. It basically says genetic control is a limitation because you can only express what your genes express, right? The new science, the new knowledge, ever learning, we're always learning. This is called epigenetic control. Sounds like almost the same thing. When I say genetic control, it's translated meaning control by genes. The new science is called epigenetics. It sounds similar, but it's profoundly different. Epi means above. So when I say epigenetic control, I'm literally saying above the genes. This is the new biology. It reveals that the environment and our perception of the environment are what control our genetic activity. the environment and your perception of the environment are what control your genetic activity. So if you can create cancer, you cannot create it as well. It's just based on your perception, what you're telling yourself. There's no such thing as a cancer gene. You can just make one. You just make one, or you don't. But if you don't make it, you can't have it. You can only have what you make. That's why, according to your faith, be it unto you. You can only have what you make. You can only have hate if you make it. Because it's the only way you can express it or it be expressed to you. You can be aware of hate, but hate not come to you. I can be aware of people being sick. That doesn't make me sick. I can aware of people hate, but that doesn't affect me. They don't hate on me, not to me personally. So other people can be aware of something for you that they're aware of, but you would never be aware of it directly because it wouldn't come to you directly. But it's because you don't have it in you, either to give or to get directly. You only get what you create. Everything is self-created. I am, consciousness is the only creator. Right? I am literally saying control above genes. This is the new biology. It reveals that the environment and our perception of the environment are what control our genetic activity. This is profound, a revolution for the simple reason that the conventional belief, society's belief about things, which most of the public is already programmed with. Societal beliefs are just public programming. One of them being genetic determinism, but largely being determinism, period. If you're poor, you're going to stay poor. If you're this, that means that. If you're not this, it means that. It's determinism. It means whatever it is going to be whatever it is, and nothing can be done about it. If you believe that, that makes you a victim of whatever determinism you're believing in, whatever inviolable, involuntary fate you believe in. You're creating that in your experience because of your belief, not because it exists, but because you believe it. I've heard several people in here say, I don't get sick. Why not? Most of the world is sick. But you like, oh, that doesn't. Well, then why are we picking and choosing what is true or not? Based on what? You know how many diseases there are out there? You touch any doorknob and you could probably die. Put all the stuff on a doorknob, or a door that you open up, or a seat that you sit on, or there's not enough Clorox wipes in the world. But we believe whatever we believe because of what we believe. But we believe what we believe based on who we are, who we think we are. What do we think is possible or impossible for us? Then that means that's possible or impossible. What we believe. Right? This makes us victims. And as I said, I cannot control the genes if the genes are controlling themselves. Therefore, my life is an expression of a pattern of genes unfolding, and I am a victim of this pattern. Epigenetics changes the entire game because it says that the genetic expression is directly due to the environment and our perception of the environment. So that means your genetic expression is directly due to you, due to what you think, what you're thinking, to your belief system. Your physical world is directly due to your perception of it. What you tell yourself, it means, based on who you think you are. So some people say, I don't get sick. So sick in the world doesn't mean anything to you because to you, you don't think that affects you. Well, then sick, then that means you can choose anything. If you can choose one thing, you can choose anything. So if I never get sick, you can also say I never get broke. You can also say I'm never mistreated or disrespected. You could also say I'm never late to work. You could also say I'm never at odds with my spouse. You could say I never have a bad day. You can say any of those things just like you said that. Why do we pick and choose what we can say or what we believe? And who's picking and choosing what we believe? That's you. Based on who you think you are, what's possible or impossible for you. We are capable of changing the environment we live in. We are capable of changing the environment we live in, and we're capable of changing our perceptions. You are capable of changing the environment you live in. It's talking about internal. You're capable of changing that chemistry, of changing your thought life, that changes your chemistry, that changes your expressions. Your expression isn't just your body, it's talking about genetics, but the principle works the same way. You're capable of changing your thought about money, your thought about your body, your thought about your relationships, your thought about your job, your thought about your business. You are capable of changing the environment, changing the thoughts and feelings that you're entertaining that creates the environment based on your perceptions. You're not a victim to your job. You're not a victim to your health. You're not a victim to your finances. You're not a victim to your relationships. You're not that. Therefore, we are not victims, but we are actually masters of our genetic activity. You're masters of all your activity, of all expressions of self. You're the master of it. You're the chef. I don't even cook, and I know that. I can cook that. This I can cook. You are the master. You're not a victim. You're not a victim of your body. You're not a victim of your money. You're not a victim of your health. You're not a victim of your friendships or your relationships. You're not a victim of your children or a victim of your significant other. You're not a victim of you're not a victim of anything. You're the master. But when you don't know you're the master, you're the victim. You're only one or the other. Humanity has gray areas, vagueness, and ambiguity. Well, it's kind of no. Nature don't work like that. It's either a bird or it's not. It's not some kind of, it's either a bird or it's not. You're not a victim, but you're a master of your genetic activity. You are a master of all expression. We have to recognize that the belief of being a victim is a perception. You believe in victim, when they say victim mentality, it is you are operating from a perspective with a perception that victimizes you. So your perception, your perspective is internal. Nobody can make you think anything. But what you're choosing to think because of what you think you see, you tell yourself, and now you have cooked up victim. And a victim then can be victimized. Just like you cook up a turkey and then a turkey can be eaten. Anybody eat the turkey before they cooked it? You can't victimize a person before they are a victim, and they made themselves a victim. Now they're eligible to be victimized. We make ourselves victim by what we tell ourselves, not realizing that we are masters of our genetic activity. We're masters of our ability to express anything. We take a thought and the chemical that goes along with that thought, the awareness of that thought, and we produce an expression. We're masters of it. But whatever belief we have makes us either a victim or a victor. Is based on our perception. Our perception makes us either a victim or a victor. If that is what you believe, you can be a victim because you're going to translate your perception. You're translating your perception into biology, right? If that's what you believe, then you can become a victim because you are translating your perception into biology. You are constantly translating your perception into biology. Your thought life becoming physical. This is not voluntary. What you think is voluntary. The fact that you think is not. This is the only way you are getting what humanity calls reality, biology, physical expression. It's the only way that you're getting it. What you see is an expression of what you have cooked, what you have created in here. It always starts here first. It is projected out. There is no outside world independent of you. The outside world you see is an expression of the inside world you have created. Everybody says, well, I have genes and my genes make my hair this color. Genes make my skin this color, make me this tall. So then you know that what you see physically is not self-created. Well, then anything that you see physically is not self-created. Your money's not self-created. Your health is not meaning it's not by itself. It's like, well, I just don't have money, but that has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you and only to do with you. Your body has everything to do with you and only to do with you. Your world has everything to do with you and only to do with you. And everybody's right here next to each other doing it. Everybody's living their own world. I could love somebody. I could love somebody in my world. They could hate me in their world, but I would never know they hate me because I don't know their world. I only know mine. They're only a player in my life. I'm a player in their life. So they can treat me in their world any way they want. But I will never know that because I'm living my world, not theirs. They're living their world, not mine. So if I don't harbor hate, if I don't harbor jealousy, if that's not my perception, that cannot be my expression, coming or going. So why don't I ever have to worry about hate? Doesn't exist for me. I understand it exists in the world. I understand people use it and have it. But if I don't have it, it can't be used on me or from me. Other people could be aware of it, but that's only because that is what they have. Right? Your body can't express a gene doesn't exist. That's not in there. It can't express it or have it expressed. I don't have a gene of blonde hair, so it ain't gonna work out. Now I can get some dye and do blonde, but I have to keep doing that's external. I have to keep doing it because it's not a natural expression. It's not, if it doesn't come from the inside, it won't stay, it won't stick. A lack of knowledge about this new understanding of epigenetics, meaning consciousness above the gene. Your genes are not operating on their own. Your consciousness are operating, your gene is operating your genes based on its awareness of being, what you're telling yourself. And your genes are then are in a bowl. And they either got water because you're telling yourself the correct things, or it's in oil because you're telling yourself incorrect things. Oh, I can't make it. I'm broke. People don't understand me. People hate on me. People don't like me. I'm crazy. People this, or I can't ever get ahead, or I don't ever have enough money, or it's flu season. Let me just take it. God will never put on me more. Okay, well then you're swimming in oil. Why do you think? How do you think it feels for a fish to be swimming in oil? Gets real stressful, don't it? You get real anxious up in there, wouldn't you? That's got to be tough to swim in. We're doing it every day when we're not thinking properly. When we could be swimming in water, clean water in a nice bowl. Right? If you believe genes control your life, then you let go of the control and power and programs take over. If you understand epigenetics, consciousness above the gene, that you are controlling everything, that you are a master creator, and you say, wait, I have the ability to change conditions environmentally or perceptually to enhance my life. If you believe that you're just broke and it's always going to be that way, or if business is hard and it's always going to be that way, or it's not my season, so I just have to go get another job now. But if it's my business is slow during this type of year, those are your beliefs. Those are your thoughts. That's you're just creating. Can't blame that on the economy. You can't blame that on your business. You created that, and your business is your body. It is your physical expression of what you're telling yourself. If you do that, you fall victim to illness. Instead of enhancing your life, you fall victim to illness. That is self-empowerment. It's the knowledge to know that you are power inducing. You have power. A person's belief system manifests in their chemistry. Your belief system manifests in your mind. It produces chemistry. As a man thinketh, think and grow rich. You have to do this. All things that physically expressed first come from thought, from consciousness. The physical thing cannot exist without thought or consciousness. That's what created the physical thing. The brain is the chemist, but the mind is the imagery that the brain is trying to complement with chemistry. The brain is perceiving the mind. Whatever the mind's image is, the brain is going to translate that image into chemistry, into now the expression of it. I have a thought. I'm aware of that thought. Thought, awareness, child. Male, female, child. Expression. It's what it is. Right? It's what it is. This is where the problem arises. The term mind is actually a misinterpretation or a misperception. The mind suggests that there's a single mind. No, the fact is that what we refer to as the mind is actually two interdependent mechanisms working in harmony with each other. We refer to these two different pieces of mind as one. The first being the conscious mind and the other being the subconscious mind. This is really important because the two minds learn in different ways, which is very critical. The two minds are interdependent. They work together, but they have different functions, like your left and your right hand. The subconscious mind is the primal mind and constitutes 90% of our brain. That is the mind, that is your habit mind. That's the one that you have consciously done things so many times that you know how to do it without even thinking about it consciously. The subconscious mind is habitual. It has programs in it, habits. These habits play automatically without us thinking about them. So when you say, oh, I don't know, I wasn't thinking about it, I just did it without thinking about it. No, you didn't. You've just done it so many times that you don't have to consciously think about it to do it. But you still think about it. It's just a different aspect of thought, of consciousness. These habits play automatically without us thinking about them, consciously thinking about them. Because there's only one mind, but it's two different aspects functioning. It is subconscious, meaning that these behaviors would play out without our consciousness ever even being involved. So you are still thinking, you are still using your mind, you're just using a different aspect of it. But I want you guys to see something here. The subconscious mind is the primal mind and constitutes 90% of our brain. What percent is left?
10.
10. What is another word for 10?
Yes.
Okay, what's another word for 10?
Complete.
That would make it complete. So what is another word for 10? I know you don't know, but I want you to think, because I want you to think real hard, and then when I tell you, you'll see something differently. What's another word for 10? You do it. Most people growing up here do it all the time.
10.
Tithing.
Okay. Huh?
Tithing.
Tithing. The 10% that is absent, your consciousness, the consciousness of what you desire to be is the tithe that you have to give God. People have been told it's money, and it's not. It is the 10% of your consciousness that you have to give, because the 90% of your brain, that is the right side of your brain. When Jesus is sitting on the right hand of the Father, that's that 90%. But the 10% is your free will. That's what you have to give to make it complete. It's the 10% of your consciousness that says, I now am that. I'm willing to believe I am that. The 90% don't have a problem with it, because it is your subconscious mind. It's your habit mind. It's just a program. It doesn't create. Like it only spits out what you put in it.
I'm sorry. Can you say that all again?
Yes.
I need.
So yes. So your 90% of your brain, that is the right side of your brain. That's the right hemisphere of your brain. That's your habit mind. That's your subjective mind. That is the female aspect of the mind. It is, what does it say? It's not involved. It just does what it's been programmed to do. So when you put a seed into the ground doesn't argue. It spits out whatever seed was put in it. So 90% of your mind, that is what's called the right hemisphere of the brain. That is what is called the subjective mind. That is what's called the female mind, the subconscious mind. It produces what's put into it. But 10% is left. That is the conscious mind. And so when you desire, I'm poor and I desire to be rich, the tithe you have to give is that remaining 10%. Your 90% don't have a problem with that thought, but your 10% does. Your human conscious free will mind, the left brain, the left side, the male aspect of the mind, the conscious mind, has to be willing to start telling itself as something different when it can't see it. When you're looking at, you know what, I'm now rich. And you look at your bank account, there's $3, negative $3.14, and you got a bill on your table for $1,000 for rent. That 10% of your mind has to say, I am this. Even though I can't see it, even though I can't feel it, I am choosing to tithe. I'm giving the first fruits. I'm giving, because the first fruit is your consciousness. The first fruit is the seed before you put it in the ground. The first fruit is the seed. It's the thought. And when you're willing to give that thought, and by saying, okay, I'm going to now complete 10 and 90 is 100. I'm now going to tell myself I am this thing, whatever I desire to be. That is my tithe. Because now I take that from the 10% and I bring it over to the 90%. I bring it to the right hand of the Father where Jesus sits. The subjective mind, the feeling of now being. I have the thought and I took that thought and I put that thought into the feeling of being that. And what does it say? It produces the chemistry now. That's what it's talking about in science. It produces the brain chemistry of being is now what produces the physical thing. You think it's I'm broke, I got to apply for a job, or I'm this, or I'm that. Yeah, but you're only going to get the job that you are, that's a physical reflection of your chemistry, of who you're being, of who you're being. So without that 10%, there is no 100, it can't create. The tithe is the 10% of your conscious mind that you are now willing to move over to the right. And now you have the two become one flesh. The male and the female are now one. And the female then spits out the seed, the thought that came over, that was placed, and it spits it out. It becomes biology. It becomes physical expression. That's your tithe. It's not money. That's what people have turned it into being. It was never money. That's not, now people can say what they want, do what they want. It was never money. And for those of you that have been here long enough, and I played the video with Creflo Dollar talking about the same thing. Yeah, well, I've come to a realization and this or that. I won't even get into that, but he basically owned it to, yeah, it was never that. It's not that. It was never that. It's not money. It is your willingness to give up your old identity that says, I am not, and use the 10% to say, I now am. I'm broke. I am no longer that. I'm now rich. And I'm willing to tie that. I'm willing to start assuming myself to be that. That is now taking it from your left logical hemisphere of your brain to your right subjective hemisphere. Sitting where Jesus is sitting on the right hand of the Father. The right hand. I will save you with my right hand. It's always talking about the right. That is where your awareness, your consciousness is resting. Your I amness is resting. Your human brain, your consciousness is resting in the 10% on your left side. That's what tithe, that's what the 10%, that's what your tithe is. Did you understand that?
Yes.
Yes. That's what your tithe is. It's not money. I'm not telling you don't give money. That's not what I'm just telling you what it is. I don't care what you do. I'm telling you what it is. I don't care what you do. I'm not trying to stop anybody from going to church, tithing, being mad, don't ask for your money back. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you what the people who wrote the book, what consciousness, how it works, what it's telling you, what they wrote the book and telling you how this works, that is what they were talking about. They were not talking about money.
My apologies. You said awareness is on the right side?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the female aspect. That is the soil. That is where the thought is going to be placed and germinates to express. So when you remember we talked about earlier perception and the chemistry it creates, the chemistry is the female because it's creating chemistry based on the thought. The thought is the male, it's the seed. And the chemistry that's created to produce the environment for that seed to grow is the female. And the male and the female come together and produce a child, produce an expression. So when you have your awareness of being, it is the womb, it is the soil that's always ready. Always ready. It's infinitely ready to be impregnated with a thought. And whatever thought you put into it, it produces. That's why you saw earlier, there's the placebo, good thought, good thing. Nocebo, bad thought, bad thing. Placebo, life. Nocebo, death. But it produces either one because it doesn't argue. What did it say? It just has programs built into it. It's programmed to produce, but it does not create. The creative aspect, the seed, the thought that was put in there, that's where creation is. This is the soil, the seed, the woman is where the expression of it is. But you need both. Can't have one without the other. Right? Does that make sense? Does everybody get that?
For sure, 100%.
Good. I want you to understand what tithing is. It's consciousness. It's not money. I'm just hammering on it because people don't know. People think it's always been told to all of us, and me included, that it was money. It was not money. It was never money. That's never what it said, never what it was meant to say, never, ever. And you can do whatever you want. Keep tithing. I don't care what you do with the money. I care what you do with your thought, with your brain, with your understanding of how consciousness works. Because with that, you can produce all the money you want. You can give it to whomever you want. With that, you can produce money, health, anything you want. The thought, the seed, and the soil produces everything that we eat. The thought and the awareness, the soil, the awareness of that thought produces everything that we are. Period. Right? Okay. All right. How do the conscious and subconscious mind work together? I could look at my life and say, I want my conscious mind to run my life. That would be really great. Behavior would be controlled by wishes, desires, and aspirations, and I should be able to manifest it. Well, here's the conundrum. What happens when the conscious mind is engaged and not focusing on the world? For example, what are you going to do today at 2 p.m.? If you're going to answer the question, recognize that you have to take your conscious mind away from observing the world around you. It must go inside your head and look for an answer, because the answer to what you're going to do in the future is locked in some calendar inside of your head. When you are thinking, the conscious mind has to go inside to process the information. Wait, if you're driving your vehicle, your biology is using the conscious mind. Then I start thinking, then who is controlling the vehicle at the moment? In the moment that the conscious mind is engaged in thinking, all functions are taken over by the habits stored in the subconscious mind. In the moment that your conscious mind is engaged in thinking, all functions are taken over by the habits stored in the subconscious mind. By definition, subconscious means below consciousness. That means I can continue walking down the street while my conscious mind is internally engaged in thought. As I'm walking, I'm not going to walk into a tree or fall off the curb because my subconscious mind functions as an autopilot. That's why when I said your 90% is already on board with you. It's going to do what you programmed it to do by repetitive thinking. So that's why people talk about affirmations. They talk about scripting, or they talk about affirmations are just thoughts that you continue to think. But when you continue to think them repeatedly, they become subconscious. They go from your conscious down to your subconscious. Like a stain that hits the fabric, and the longer you let it sit there, it sinks into the fabric deeper and deeper. Then it becomes harder to get out. That's why people say habits are hard to change, because it gets so deep into the fabric of your consciousness. Your consciousness, like the fabric, does not say, oh my God, I don't like that. It just says, this is what's on here. And the longer it stays on here, it starts to sink more and more into the fabric, into the actual garment, into your actual consciousness itself. And then and the longer you leave it in there, the harder it is to get out. It functions on autopilot. Every time you bring it out after wash, if you leave it in there too long, it becomes harder to get out. So your conscious and your subconscious mind know how to work together. It says, I can either use my conscious mind to create my life, or if my conscious mind gets engaged in thinking or focusing on something, my life is taken over by the autopilot, the subconscious. On autopilot, the behavior that is going to be expressed comes from the programs that were already downloaded in my mind. The thought that you have thought long enough for it now to be subconscious. So you wonder why people have a hard time changing their habits. Well, because they're not actually getting into their subconscious mind to change it. Meaning they are not changing what they think about something. They're not replacing it. If you put some soda in a glass, right? And let's say you don't pour it out. Well, now if you put water in there, you want to flush that thing out, you have to put enough water in there until it overrides the soda, till it keeps dumping and dumping and pulling the soda from the bottom out and being replaced with fresh water. And you have to do that long enough until you no longer see the residue of it. That's basically what affirmations are. Whether it's meaning thoughts you repeat, whether you do them verbally, whether you think them, writing them down constantly, whether you're imagining the thought constantly, it's just basically a new repetition that you want to replace an old repetition. Right? So here's where the rubber hits the road. Before you create consciousness in your life, you have to have programs in your subconscious to give you a parallel story, right? So basically they're working together. Right? So it's the same thing. The conscious mind, right, is always choosing from all that exists and placing it into your subconscious and say, play that, produce that, birth that, express that. Right? It's the conscious mind is creative. I can imagine things and I can do all these things, but the conscious mind cannot work if there's no program in the subconscious mind. That is why the first part of our lives, from the last trimester of pregnancy to the first 7 years of our lives, our brains are functioning at a lower vibration as determined by the EEG. The brain predominantly operates in a vibration or frequency called theta for the first 7 years of your life. Theta is a frequency lower than consciousness. It's subconscious. Theta is actually a brain function associated with imagination. That's why you see kids doing all the things they do, right? Riding on a broom at 7, they don't think it's a broom anymore. They think it's an actual horse. The kid can visualize being on a physical horse, riding it around, even when it's only a broom. That is theta. That is imagination, right? So people operating at higher forms will be like, oh, that's only a broom, give it back. But that child in that age believes they really have got into it as being a horse. That is the state where you can hypnotize someone. That is the theta state. So it's talking about different aspects of consciousness, right? And I could go on and on and on, but I want to leave time for questions. But so the whole point is that your thought life is where it is. Becoming aware of our subconscious, becoming aware of the subconscious source of our behavior gives us an opportunity to change our lives by rewriting the programs of limitation or the things that interfere with us. You can rewrite your programs. You can rewrite the thoughts that you have been thinking. You can change your mind and radically do so. That's what it says, repent and sin no more. Sin meaning error of thought. It doesn't mean judgment or criticism. It means error. It means to miss the mark. It's a Greek archery term. It means to miss the mark. You are not being who you want to be. You're not hitting the mark. And so if you're not, repent, change your mind, redo the arrows to hit the target, to be who you want to be. Change your mind, change your thinking. What you're telling yourself and believing yourself to be true, that is what's producing your biology, your physical expression. If we change our programs, we're empowered, free to express wishes and desires of the conscious mind. This is really what the whole new biology of epigenetics is. Consciousness above genes. Your consciousness is controlling your biology, and your biology is your expression. Your consciousness is controlling your expression. Your conscious, the thought that you think, and the chemical reaction to that thought that produces an expression. If you don't control that, and you listen to society and all of its improper thinking, you're going to be a victim of life. You're going to believe what everyone else believes. The economy's bad, tariffs suck, oh, it's flu season, oh, I can't get ahead because I'm a woman, or I'm black, or I'm white, or I'm old, or I'm young, all the different things that you start to praise and worship. You're literally praising and worshiping those things. You're giving them all your loyalty and devotion. You think praise and worship can only be positive. There's no such thing as positive or negative in consciousness. It's just what you're doing. It's just, well, all you're doing is missing the music. It's a praise and worship service. They're just praising and worshiping something that they don't want, that they don't like, but they're still giving it their love, their devotion, their loyalty, their full belief. Right? So that's what all of this is. So I will have Veronica please put this link in there so you guys can read it. Be able to put this in the chat so you guys can be able to read it the rest for yourselves. But let's go all the way back to the top. This is from the National Library of Medicine. This is from a doctor that's saying the jump from cell culture to consciousness. The belief in genetic determinism to realizing that there's epigenetics, that there's consciousness above genes, and that you're not stuck in any area of your life, whether it's your body or anything else. This person was on the faculty of the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine, a groundbreaking stem cell researcher at Stanford. So this isn't, as I said, somebody in the basement with a wig on and some incense just telling you can do better, and God is good, and God is love, and got beads and candles. This ain't that. So, like I said, so that no one has room to run and hide and say what we talk about here every week isn't scientific, because science means knowledge and conscious means with knowledge. So when someone is conscious, it means they're operating with knowledge. When you're unconscious, you're not operating with knowledge. That's why nice means ignorant, stupid, frivolous. That's what the word means. It means need, not, or no. The ice, the in it is from the root word science. It means not, it means to know. Need or not, you don't know. That's what nice really means. That's the actual denotative word. Connotatively, we've made it means, but that's not what the word means. Right? So when you start to understand things, you're like, oh, so when I tell you, all of you every week, and tell you that change your mind, change your life, choose your mind, choose your life, I'm talking science. I may not be talking to you about this article, but I couldn't run this article down to you if I'd never seen it before. So when I tell you something, it's not about me, it's about the information. That's why you don't have to praise me, or we don't have all the same outfits. There's no club. There's no, there's nothing that this is not about me. This is about the information. Follow the information. That's why I encourage you to participate. That's why I encourage you to ask questions. That's why I show you where it all comes from. Because I want you to think for yourselves, because you'll never be free if you don't. That's why I want you to participate, because you'll never learn how to think if you just sit there and let somebody talk at you all the time and you don't participate in your own knowledge acquisition. You're just renting the knowledge. You don't own it, so that when Tuesday comes, you're up in arms and up in hell. You have to own this stuff so that you know that you know that you know that when it's game time, when it's go time, when it's lifetime, you're on. But I could be telling you something, and it's coming from 1,000 different things that I know, that I've read, that I understand, right? It's not just from scripture and the metaphysical books we read. No, this is science saying the same thing that scripture says, that all the different metaphysical books are saying. Think and grow rich. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As a mind believes itself to be. That's what that means. It's talking about humanity. It's talking about the mind. As you believe yourself to be, so are you. All these are as within, so without. Everything starts in here, and is pushed out there. There is no out there. Just like there's not a movie on the screen unless the projector's playing it. The screen plays nothing. Screen just reflects. It's being bounced off of. All right, I'll stop there. Questions, comments, questions, especially if you have any.
So my interpretation has always been, before you just said that, which was a definitely an eye opener. The right hand. I would hear first mind. So sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool at your feet. I've always said first mind. What's your interpretation on that? The first mind.
What does it say? Seek first, right?
Okay. Yes.
So then when you seek first, you're coming up with an idea. You're coming up with a consciousness that you want to express physically. And what does it say? Once you come up with that consciousness you want to express physically, all these things will be added unto you. Okay. Whatever you go in mind to assume yourself to be, that is creation. Going out and get another job while you still think you're broke, going out trying to go to the club or go to the bar to find a boyfriend, you will never physically get, be, do, have, express anything that you are not first in here. So sitting on the right hand of the Father just means you're taking a thought and you now are assuming yourself to be that thought. And you sit there, you stay there. You remain in that consciousness, in that awareness of being. And it's not you that does the work, it's your Father. That's why Jesus said, it's not me that does the work, it's my Father in me. I don't do anything but what I see the Father in me do. It's the awareness of being that. What did he say? When his family came looking for him, hey, what are you doing? He said, don't you know I'm here about my Father's business? Everything he did was with the awareness of what I'm being, what I've chosen to be. I remember the only difference between God and Jesus, let's say, and us on this call is the awareness. They both, God and Jesus, let's put it, so I'm separating it to make it clear. God and Jesus know who they are every minute of every moment, every day. And so they act like it and they never have a problem because they don't. We in our humanity forget. We come and go. We forget. And so then sometimes we act like it, sometimes we don't. It is a lapse in memory. So a lapse in memory, when we forget who we are, we forget what we have, that we are omnipotent, that we are omniscient, right? That there's nothing we don't know. There's nothing we can't do. There's nothing we're incapable of. But when we detach in mind, almost like when a kid gets lost from their parents at Disneyland, it's fun till you realize your parents aren't around. And then the fun ends. You feel lost. You feel detached from the source, from your protector, your provider, your ride home, everything. Who's going to buy me some more cake? Like that, when we separate, when we forget, when we just think that we are Lucky or Alexis or whoever, all of us physically on this call, we separate in mind. It's our goal, the goal here is always to bring yourself back to the remembrance of who you are. I and my Father are one. I know my Father, who you call God. I know my Father. So you have a religious God somewhere out there. I know my Father. I have a relationship. You have a religion. Connotatively, religion doesn't mean what people think it means. I don't have time for that. But I have a relationship. You have a relationship with your awareness. But most people don't. They have a religion with God. So it's always out there somewhere else, somehow else. And so they don't know if God heard, if God cares, if God's listening, if God's going to see what time it is. They don't have a relationship,
Exactly. Okay.
right? So did that
Amazing.
answer your question?
Yes, incredible. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for asking. Great question.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
I kind of I was sitting here asking myself, how do I ask this question and remain like vague at the same time? You know, not too much on the details, but when it comes to engaging, I feel like you're going to tell me, Sparkle Bailey, it's the way you're thinking about it that's causing ... right?
Mhm.
When it comes to engaging with other people who see themselves as intelligent,
Mhm.
but they don't have the understanding of their own power, they don't have the understanding of manifestation, they just believe in the external and put more energy towards the external than they do the internal.
Mhm.
And so it's like when you engage with these people on Tuesday, right?
Mhm.
You're out there in the jungle on Tuesday and you're engaging with this. I
Mhm.
feel like, I don't know, I feel like am I like the thought that I have of these people, like, is this what's keeping this alive? Because I'm ready for this to, I'm ready for this to, I'm ready for this to, I have like this positive outlook on everything, well, on many things. And so I feel like I'm getting burned when I go back out here on Tuesday. I'm
Mhm.
getting burned
Mhm.
every Tuesday. It's what it
Mhm.
feels like.
Mhm.
Because I'm telling myself, you know, I can have this, I can have that with this person, you know, da 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 da. I can we can have this healthy whatever, you
Mhm.
know, and it's like these are people of importance. These are not like, you know, people you can just toss to the side. Like these are people of importance. So it's like when you want to have healthy and you want to have healthy experiences and you want to renew relationships and things of this nature. I teeter totter on Tuesdays, Coach. I'm out here teeter tottering. Like, what the hell am I doing?
Mhm.
Why am I doing this? Because my brain tells me often, let go,
Mhm.
let go.
Mhm.
And, you know, I don't have an issue with letting go per se, Coach. It's just that I don't know. Like, I don't, sometimes I don't want to be too vague because this is a recorded call, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay. So let me answer your question.
thank you.
What is our what is our true nature? We are made in the image and likeness of what? What is our true nature?
God.
Okay. So anything, and so God does what? And when in Genesis, God did what?
Created.
Okay. So how many creators are there?
Um, y'all want to help me out with this one?
One.
One.
See, that's where we first start. If you, not you personally, if you, so I'm coaching right now. So I'm talking to a player. All of us are on the same team. So when one player is being talked to, everybody's being talked to, right? So the coach only has to say this once, right? I'm using like an athletic kind of analogy because we're not talking about the person, we're talking about a principle. We're not talking about a person, we're talking about a principle. We're using a person, meaning a personal question, but we're using the principle to answer it so everybody understands how it works because it's not personal. We are made in the image and likeness. We are one with, we are the same. That means just like God in the book created everything, we are the God of our life. We create everything. So everything is an expression of our creation. But creation isn't static in our lives, meaning, what does it say? That's why it says repent. Or that's why when Jesus would heal people, say, hey, there's no reason to judge or criticize or condemn. Just what does it say? Go your way. Your faith has made you whole, right? But sin no more. Don't make that error in judgment anymore, right? Because that's what got you here. Not you being a bad person, not you being this or that. Your error in judgment is what becomes an error in physical expression, right? Sickness or poverty or animosity or acrimony in certain situations. We are made in the image and likeness, so we have to start at the beginning. What is our true nature? Our true nature is we are the creator. Our true nature is we are the creator of our lives, everything and all things in it. We are the creator of our experiences. So as a result, that means when we realize our true nature, it means we always have, and we have never lost the ability to change, rearrange, construct things based on the experiences we're having now in physical form. That's what repent means. That's what sin means. Fear, let me kind of go off a little bit. Fear, I was just thinking about this. Fear. Does anybody know what fear, it's a lot of things, but does anybody know what fear is? What is fear? I don't mean what it is like I'm afraid. What does fear actually represent?
Lack of knowledge.
Okay, of what?
Whatever it is they're
Of
fearing.
yourself.
Of yourself.
Of yourself.
Of yourself. That's right. Of yourself. Fear is like the lane departure system. It's to get your attention to say, whoa, you're going away from something. It's not designed to punish you or judge you or criticize you. It's just, but the feeling of fear that we feel in the body, we misinterpret it as I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm in trouble, I should stop, but it's really a lane departure system. It's something to arrest your attention to say you're forgetting who you are. You're floating away. Almost like, when you go to Ross or Disneyland with your kids when they're young, or your niece, your nephew, your godson, your goddaughter, and they're 4 and 5 years old, and you're looking and they're always wandering, right? You look up and you're like, where is, right? Or you go on this aisle and you thought they were behind you and you haven't seen them, realize you haven't seen them in 3 minutes, right? Because they're back over here fixated on this basketball or on this doll or on something. If you realize the young mind, that young person, you always have to keep them with you because otherwise they wander off, right? And they don't have a problem with it until they don't see you for too long. Then they're like, oh, they start to panic. But it's the separation that causes the panic. It's the separation in mind. So that fear is almost, it's telling you it's like an alarm. It's just there to get you to say, hey, you're separating from your true, from remembering who you are. You're starting to think that you're something you're not. And and so it makes you come back. It's not a punishment. It's just a thing that goes off as a result of you wandering. It didn't make you wander. It's letting you know you wandered. The lane departure didn't make you in your car. It's letting you know you did. When you hit those little bumps on the side of the road, they didn't pull you over there. It's just letting you know that whether innocently or ignorantly, you got over there. It's to get your attention to bring you back, right? So it's anytime we separate from our true knowledge of self, we start thinking that things are different than they are. Sometimes that results in fear. Sometimes that results in doubt. Sometimes that results in scarcity. Sometimes it results in poverty. Sometimes it results in poor health. It's just when we are improperly thinking about our true nature as we actually are. We are actually the creator of our life. We are actually the creator of every area of our life. Therefore, there is nothing that we have not created, that we cannot recreate. That we cannot, do you know how many houses you see that they're getting flipped and they're remodeling and things like that? You can do the same thing essentially in your mind. You can reflip something. But the reason and when God created all these things, who else was around? Class.
Nobody.
No one. So then whose opinion mattered?
Just his.
Who had a problem with it?
No one.
Nobody.
So why does other people's opinion matter? Or why do you think they would have a problem with it? Or why do you have a problem with it? But it's because you are not doing it. You're giving a way to be done. You've lost your power. It's genetic determinism. You think your genes, you think something outside of you is determining the outcome, but there's epigenetics. You are above that thing. So you get to control that gene. You get to control that thought, so that your biology changes by controlling the thought. But by controlling the thought, you put a new thought into that gene, and that new gene expresses a new thing. So there is no other thinker. There is no other opinion within you. It is you and your own. And on Tuesday, we make the mistake of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it's all us. On Tuesday, it's all us and them. It becomes we. And then now it's outside of us. Now we're chasing it. Now we're trying to influence it. That's not what you do with people. That's not what you do with things. You are not trying to control them. You influence through your mind, through the changing of your mind. That's why I said it is, what did it say? Your thoughts, your perception is creating your biology. Change your mind, change your beliefs, and you change your biology. Change your mind and you change your experience. Biology is just an experience. It's an expression of thought. It doesn't matter whether it's your body, your money, your relationships, or anything. You are looking at a gene that has had a thought that has disfigured it. But it was a thought that disfigured that gene. Well, it's only a thought is going to be able to bring it back, either eliminate the gene, get rid of it and bring a new one in, or remodel it. It's a thought that disfigured that relationship, whether it's one relationship or 50. It's a thought that disfigured it. Only a thought can repair it, by replacing it or by remodeling it, getting a new vision of it. But this is where your tithe comes in. If you're not willing to give that 10%, if you're not willing to stick with what you said and stay there, just like she said, just like T said when she asked me, sit on the right hand of the Father till I make your enemies your footstool. That is what it is. Sit in the awareness of your relationships being the way you want them to be until you see it. Your awareness will do that. You don't have to. But what you have to do is keep your 10% there. You over here putting your money in and pulling it out. We pull our money in, put our money in, and pull it out. Like it's the stock market, right? And we don't let it sit there long enough for it to express. Right? That's what your tithe is. So you take your thought of something, you are the only creator, you're the only thinker in your world. All of us individually are the only thinkers in our world. Everything in our world is an expression of our thought. That's your biology, is the physical world, not just your body. That is a principle. All physical things work just like that. That's why I read it to you. I want you to see from a scientific standpoint, from a knowledge, from knowing how this works. So if there is no other creator, if there is no one to agree or disagree, how could they disagree when you see them? Meaning that is just the old thought still there, that still has some life and gas left in it. But you stay on the right side. You stay in the thought of, I don't care what I see. I'm gonna stay here until God makes my enemies my footstool. Till in that thought that I no longer wanted, that was an enemy, something that opposed me, I can now, that enemy, my Father will move that out. My awareness of being this new thing will move that out. And it's not something I have to physically do with people. I just have to physically in my mind keep my tithe over there. I can't put it in like, God, I tithe, and then pull it right back. Right? You're not gonna get no credit for that, so to speak. Right? So we are the creator of our world. There is no other. There is no one to complain. There is no one to judge. There is no one. Those people are the physical reflections of what we had been thinking. And if we want, like the water is there, okay, it has Coke in it, you pour water in it, it still looks like more Coke than water, but the longer you keep pouring water in it, the more you'll see it. And then after a while, it becomes crystal clear. People who walked in 5 minutes later will never know that there was Coke in that glass. Never. Because you poured so much water, you have stayed in the awareness of being the thing you want to be now. I have a great relationship with this person or these people. Everybody loves to talk about mindset, or everybody is a great friend to me. You're not making them do anything. You're only talking to yourself. But God created the earth. It was only talking to itself. That's your nature. That's how this works. There is no one to agree with you. There is no one to oppose you. There is no one to be mad at you. There is no one to think it's a good idea or a bad idea. It's only your idea. So guess who's telling yourself it didn't work? Guess who's telling yourself it's hard? Guess these are things that we tell ourselves. And that becomes the battle of the conscious and subconscious mind. That is the double-mindedness, right? That's what that is. So I trust that answered your question.
Thank you, Coach.
Welcome. Perfect. Okay, anyone else? About anything we covered today?
Hey, look, if I can, real quick. First of all, it's always an honor and pleasure, man, to dialogue and come together and reason and get the enlightenment. So I appreciate that. But I do want to just recognize that my brother has a birthday on Thursday. When you get a chance, just wish him happy birthday, because I know that you know, I call him a lot of different names as far as sometimes I call him Uncle Lucky or, but I always looked at him as a father figure. And I tell everybody all the time, if he would have been a few years older than me, I probably would have been an NFL player, because I wasn't as disciplined as he was, but I definitely had the skills and ability to do so. But I do thank each and every one of you for coming on here, and if you can wish him happy birthday, it'd be great. And hey, man, it's always an honor and pleasure to see everybody on here. So that's all I gotta say.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. Any other questions about what we went over today?
Yeah, what day is the birthday?
Mom, God, why are you
That was
today? Yes. Any other questions or anything about what we talked about today?
No, I just want to say thank you for always coming through with saying something so powerful. Even though it's small, it just makes a big world difference. So you always share knowledge, and your knowledge is so it's so powerful. So I just want to say thank you. Even the tide thing threw me back. So I'm just gathering it all in and letting it sit and marinate. And this is like, I love how you make us unlearn to learn again, and just grateful about that. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's nice to have you, Amanda. Glad you're here.
I'd like to briefly share something if that's okay.
Sure. Yes.
Kind of, I guess if I am able to motivate Miss Sparkle Bailey, I actually literally was tested on Tuesday. This past Tuesday, I live in an apartment and my upstairs neighbors were arguing really loud. And my initial that flesh response wanted to yell at them, and I listened to, or I thought about the Bible and how it says they were accused. Jesus was accused of being Satan in order to cast out Satan. And he said Satan can't cast out Satan. That would just cause more catastrophe. He uses God. So at first I sat still. So if I could tell you for advice to just be still and sit in that for a second instead of getting frustrated or whatever you're dealing with, that's what helped me realize, okay, this is not the right way to react. And I went up there with my Bible and I spoke to them the way we talk about Bible references, and it was almost as if I cast a demon out of the woman who was frustrated at that moment, and she changed her full perspective on the situation and calmed her all the way down.
Mhm. Man, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. I'm looking for something real quick. I want to see if I can get this to you guys real quick while we're on here. I want you to see Sunday. Okay. That's awesome. It goes to show you that you have the power to do so many things that you just, once you realize it, you start doing it, you start putting in being a doer and not a hearer only, you start realizing like, oh, okay, I okay, I actually get it. I actually understand this actually works. Let me see if I can find this really quick. Because it goes
While
to
Lucky is looking for that, I want to thank everyone for coming and let you know that if you want to work closer with Coach Lucky, he has the youth circle that meets twice a week with a smaller group. And you get a one-on-one weekly as well with him. I'm going to put the link so you guys can get more information about it. But if you have any questions, you can also email at info@themental.academy, and I'll put that in the chat as well.
Yes, yes, perfect, perfect. All right, and lastly, announcement. I've never brought anybody on before. But I'm going to do that in a couple weeks. Um, um, I'm
December
going
13th.
Yeah, December 13th, I'm going to bring somebody on who is going to be talking about finance. Um, they are. I'm bringing somebody. I'm going to start here and there, not too much, but I'm going to start bringing people on who are talking about who are experts in their field of what they do. That I think will be helpful to for all of us on here in their particular area of expertise. Um, uh, Everybody or anyone that I bring on here is legit and legitimate. But they're not here to get your business. They're not here for you to give them your business. They're literally only here to give you information. They're people that I know in one way or another that are at the top of their field, at the top of their game, and are doing it for real and are going to be providing you information in their area of expertise. So this person does private equity, wealth management. They manage over probably close to about $2 billion worth of assets right now. So, but they are going to be talking about finance in ways I just think a lot of us don't get access to from people who are doing it at a certain level. And also just because almost like thinking money is something we've been using since we can remember, but we weren't necessarily formally educated on it, maybe the way, we have in other areas of our lives. But anybody I bring on here is, like I said, going to be talking to you about what they do. It's going to be opportunities for you to ask questions. But they're not here to get your business. They're not here for you to give them your business. They're not going to be selling you anything. There's no, there's no, it's not going to be any type of, if you want to join my it's not going to be any type of that. It's literally just for you to get access to some information, be able to ask questions about it as you hear it, but from people who are doing it. There's going to be that. There's going to be a cybersecurity one that I'm working on, getting him to come. Cybersecurity and AI has his own company, doing it for real, the real kind. But I want to kind of bring in different topics to just kind of expand our awareness of different areas of life and how we can use what we're using as knowing how to think, also getting a better understanding of the different areas of life that we're engaged in consistently and how we can choose what we want from these things as well, right? So I'm just kind of opening it up a little bit to so that, like I did with the science article today, so that you can really see how things you're looking at or thinking every day, how they're different than what you maybe think they are, and how you can do so much more with them once you have a better understanding first of yourself, and then now you can look at this area of life again from kind of a different perspective, a different lens, different point of view, right? So that's going to be on December 13th. So you can bring, as always, invite anybody you like, whatever else it is. But it is going to be talking about a lot of different things. I've kind of left it up to him on how he wants to bring it to you or whatever. But there will be time for you to ask all the questions about finance, about business, starting a business, private equity, wealth, capital, crowdfunding, whatever, because I know a lot of you on here, a lot of us are entrepreneurs. So just getting access to people who really are doing it at a high level, but aren't trying to get nothing from you when they're speaking to you. And you don't have to worry about it. And you can just ask questions and things like that, stuff like that. So just want to let you know that December 13th, we'll be doing that, right? I couldn't find the thing right now, but but anyway, so that's that. I guess we'll sign off. I've kept you all long enough. Any other questions before I let you go? Otherwise, happy Saturday and everything like that.
Thanks so much, Coach.
You're welcome. My honor and pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Happy
Coach.
early birthday.
Thanks for the enlightenment.
You're welcome. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Happy early birthday.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Amanda. Sean, I heard you too. Thank you. All right.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, and happy birthday as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes. Well, hey, happy Saturday. Everybody have a good one. I'll see you next Saturday. Right? Change your mind, change your life, choose your mind, choose your life. Victory only, victory always. Have a good one. See you guys next Saturday.